live show. I'm your man, Sade, and today let's talk about one of the biggest things that we all have to go through and one of the most difficult things to navigate through, which is relationships. Now, I found in my experience and speaking to numerous people that many people are going into relationships looking for love, wanting to be loved, and really have little to no idea what love entails. Even people who are in relationships looking for love and haven't even learned to love themselves. So, therefore, it makes it difficult for the individual who you are seeking love from to be able to give you something that you have no idea what it is. And then to top it off, it drains the energy from individuals who really want to provide love for those individuals. My suggestion to anyone who are, is in a relationship, wants a relationship, to first find out what it is that you can do for yourself to increase your love for yourself. And when I say that, I don't mean being selfish and being self absorbed. I mean, find out what makes you happy. Find the things and do those things for yourself first before putting pressure on someone else to do things for you that you're not even willing to do for yourself. I think far too often this is happening in relationships, and normally the end result is that the relationships end. People end up bailing out of the relationships because it becomes too much pressure. Now, whatever happened to compatibility? Whatever happened to getting to know a person first? Getting to know the likes, the dislikes, what motivates a person, what do a person, what kind of aspirations do the person has? Whatever happened to all of that type of stuff? It's come to a point that it's either love or sex. And don't get me wrong, sex is fine. However, to me, making love is better. And in order to make love to someone, you have to build love with each other. And we've come to think that love is something you fall in. Hence why so many people get hurt. When you fall, what happens? At the end of the day, when you fall, 9 out of 10 times you get hurt. You scar your knee, you break your leg, your arm, something happens. It creates pain. So there are too many people who are in pain and pushing out pain, trying to find love and trying to be loved when they really haven't done the most crucial part of understanding what love is. Understanding that love is something that you give willingly. It's not something that is forced. It's not something to be taken for granted. It's not something to be brought or paid for. Love can make a person feel like they 10 feet tall when they're only 5'2". Love can make a person believe that they can climb a mountain, fly in the sky. Love has a great deal of power, but it also comes with a great deal of responsibility. And too many of us are unaware of that responsibility. Love needs to be reciprocated, it needs to be nurtured, it needs to be cared for. Compatibility is important as well because being compatible, being able to be yourself without any judgment, being able to make errors and feel comfortable with another individual when you're making errors. Because to me, there's nothing called failure. Anything that happens to you in your life is to be used as a lesson, to be used as something to know for the next time what to do or what not to do. That's what trying or attempting to do something is about. So don't get caught up in the fear of being afraid of failure, being afraid that even if a relationship doesn't work, many people say that, oh, I wasted 10 years, I wasted 5 years. No, if you really got to know yourself and you really got time to really get into the individual and realize what caused the breakup, you can take that into your new relationship, not as pain, but as triumph, and be able to utilize that to enhance your next relationship. Far too many people in relationships take all the pain from the relationship, forget about what was good, what made them stay for the entire 10 years. Because face it, we all grow at different paces. So there are sometimes people just grow apart because lack of communication. One person wants to be outgoing, another person wants to be secluded. And it's fine if the two of you can find a common ground and be able to make that work and benefit the both of you. See, love is able to maneuver. Love is not just one dimensional. Far too many people have this notion that love is about making only them feel good, making them feel better about themselves, making them feel like they're on top of the world. And love can do those things. However, what happens to the individual who is giving you that love? What happens to that individual? What are you reciprocating to that individual that will help that individual in the manner that they need to be helped? Because we are different as men and women and as individuals with different backgrounds, different lifestyles, different hopes, different dreams, different fears, it we have to take time to learn each other. See, my perspective about love is it's something that has to be learned. It's not something that you meet a person and you say, Oh, I just fell in love with that person. What did you fall in love with? You just saw the person. You don't know anything about the person. So how can you say, I saw the person and I just fell in love with him on first sight? Me personally, I think you fell in love with the image of what you expected from that person or what you thought that person was. And it turned out to be that the person wasn't what you thought they were. And that's when people start getting angry and placing blame on the other individual. When we, as the individual who took on that responsibility of placing our expectations on the individual that we were with, we have to take responsibility for that. We have to hold ourselves accountable for putting what was inside of us on the other person, because it's unfair to say to a person that you wanted them to be something that they weren't. And in this journey, in this search for love, in this search for happiness, it's a mutual thing. We all want to be validated. We all want to be appreciated. We all want to be respected. This is something both men and women want. Therefore, why is it so difficult for us to come to that realization of how to make that happen? My personal belief is we don't communicate enough. And when we do communicate, we're not being truthful. We're not being honest. And many times we're not being honest because one or the other don't feel safe. We have to build a safety net for each other so that either one of us, both men and women, would be able to express how you truly feel without judgment. This is something that will help us, men and women, be able to move forward in healthy relationships. And no, it's not going to be easy. But if you want to build love and you're looking for love, then you have to be willing to do that work. You have to be willing to make those necessary sacrifices for the person that you're willing to learn to love. And mind you, I can't stress enough, we have to, as men and women, stop falling in love. Stop loving people for what you want them to be. Stop loving people for what you think they are. And this will reduce the amount of heartbreak, the amount of pain and anger that is being passed around in a circle where you meet a person, they break your heart. Now you meet another person, you break their heart. And the circle keeps going on. And now you got a bunch of people walking around in pain, inflicting more pain. And now we get children involved in that. And now we got children walking around in pain because the adults didn't take responsibility for their part in the demise of the relationship. Remember, it takes two people to build a relationship. So therefore, yeah, one can destroy it. However, to make it grow, you need both individuals willing to do what is necessary. And sometimes that means not saying anything when you really want to speak. It means listening because you got two ears and you have one mouth. So listening more so than you're speaking. Far too often in a heated verbal transaction, both of us are too busy trying to be right. And do you want to be happy or do you want to be right? Because sometimes you can't have both. You can't be right and be happy. Sometimes you got to accept that there's a possibility that you may be wrong about a situation. You may be wrong with your view. And that's okay because anyone who says they get everything right is not growing. Because in order to grow, you got to accept that some things you're not going to get right. Some things you're not good at. Some things you have to learn. And the biggest misconception that I see when it comes to men and women is either one or the other wants to be right. Either one or the other wants to lead and want the other to follow. And it's a reciprocated thing because as men and women, we should find someone that complements our weaknesses. You hear what I said? We should find someone that complements our weaknesses. Therefore, we always appear strong. Why? Because once you get a person that complements your weaknesses, no one else gets to see them because that person covers them. And that's what we're missing in relationships. That's what we're missing when it comes to men and women and being able to navigate through this thing called love in relationships. Too many of us are just straight up selfish. And as I said earlier, it's fine to love yourself because if you don't love yourself, you're going to make it impossible for anybody else to love you. So, really get to love yourself and get to know yourself because knowing yourself helps you to have empathy for others. Because, face it, all of us have insecurities, all of us have flaws, all of us have features about ourselves that we wish we could change. There's nobody walking around here thinks everything is fine about them. So let's use that. Let's use that when we come together and be able to accept the flaws in others, be able to accept the features that are not so perfect, and utilize what makes the person themselves. You hear what I'm saying? What makes the person becomes an individual, the person's own individuality. Being attracted to a person is there's something about an individual that you find in them that attracts you to them. And once you are attracted, then you start to build. Okay, I'm attracted to, maybe they have a nice smile, maybe they have a nice body, maybe they talk well. Uh, Either way, those are kind of superficial. And okay, even if you like the tone of a person's voice, there's many things to attract you to a person, but in order to stay with the person, You got to find the things that makes you comfortable with the person, that makes you able to be yourself with the person, that makes you able to excel with the person, that makes you able to grow with the person. These are attributes that we need to incorporate when we're looking and searching for some compatibility or some love or relationship. Face it, too many people are running around here talking about being in love because of sex. They've been sexed really good and now they're in love. And at the end of the day, how many how much time do you spend in the bed? So if you're in love with a person just sexually, I can tell you it's not going to last. And if it does, it's not going to be fulfilling. What it is we all need to be fulfilled. We all looking for something that's going to fill a little empty space that we feel that we have. Men and women were designed to be together. So if that's the case, why are we making it so complicated to be together, to stay together, and to grow together? Listen, those of you who are out there young, in your teens and 20s, and you're just really finding out about who you are, sex, and things of that nature, be mindful and be truthful with each other. If you're not ready to commit to a monogamous relationship, and when I say monogamous, I mean a one on one relationship, be honest with the person. Tell the person, look, I'm not truly ready to be locked down, just me and you. I'm not ready for that at this time. I want to search around. Be honest. And those of you who hear that, if somebody tells you that, look, they want to see other people, don't impose what you want on them. Don't impose because you want to be monogamous that they need to be too. Allow each other to be who you are. Remember, we grow. And if we're not growing, we're not truly living. So a person at 20 should evolve by the time they're 25, should evolve by the time they're 35. It should evolve. And if you're not evolving, as I said, you're just existing. So it's about growing, developing. You shouldn't get stuck with the same thoughts and same ideas that you had 10, 15 years ago. Those ideas should evolve into something better, something more mature, something that is more beneficial to you and those around you. We have a responsibility to each other as men and women. We have a responsibility to be able to guard each other's heart. And if that means walking away because you're not ready to be what the person wants you to be, then you may have to do that. And normally it happens with men not being developed enough emotionally for women. However, nowadays it appears to be changing that women are not being emotionally developed enough to maintain relationships. And in order for us to come together, coexist, to create an environment that is healthy for children, we got to create an environment that is healthy for the two of us. This is one of the most important aspects about us as a people, being able to create and maintain healthy relationships with each other. And it's imperative that each of us are willing to do the work. Each of us accepts and takes on the responsibility of our misdeeds, our shortcomings, and actions that create turmoil within the relationship. Far too often, as I was saying earlier, somebody wants to be right. And you can be dead wrong and you still want to be right. We have to grow beyond that. We have to be able to say, look, I was wrong. I apologize. And speaking of apology, I heard my man, this is my dude, and I'm not going to say his name, but you know who you are if you hear this. You said, you don't apologize. And it bothered me to hear you say that because at the end of the day, if you don't apologize, you're not admitting that something you did could have been done differently. And that stunts your growth. You have to be able to admit that, look, I did this thing, even if you don't completely think it's wrong, but you know that it could have been done differently, then take responsibility. Look, I could have did that different. I could have been quiet instead of saying what I said. Or I could have lowered my tone when I saw that you were getting upset. These are things and tools that we have to be able to utilize when we're dealing with each other. And this goes for both men and women. Whenever you're in a heated discussion and someone's voice get elevated, the person that has the control at that time, it's your responsibility to de-escalate the situation, to not raise your voice because their voice went high, to lower your voice and try to get them to come back to where they're at, where they should be, and being able to communicate in a healthy way. Relationships is all we have. If we can't fix that, we're doomed as a people. We're doomed. There's nothing we're gonna be able to accomplish if the man and woman continues to separate, continues to bicker, continues to point the fingers at each other. It's our responsibility. In closing, I just want all of you to know, love yourself, find out what it is that brings you inner peace, respect each other, and show kindness because we are all we got. If we can't fix us, then we lose. So let's learn how to love each other. Let's stop the falling in love. Let's stop the falling because, as I said earlier, falling causes pain. So let's learn to love each other for who we are. Until next week, peace.